Welcome to another episode of the Homestretch with Adrian Durant. And tonight's special guest, I'm interviewing U.S. Olympic hurdler Jason Richardson. You're laughing at my intro, man. Homestretch podcast, where we interview exceptional track and field athletes, find out their stories, and find out what it takes to be successful, what it takes to win a medal, what it takes to be a champion, all the stuff that you guys overcome to get to the highest level. And so a little bit about you. For those folks who don't know, who should know, but just don't know, Jason is the world champion in the 110 hurdles from 2011, Olympic Games runner-up in the London Olympics in 2012. You were world youth champion in 2003 in the 110s and the 400 hurdles. And were you the first person? You were the first person to ever win both.
Yeah, so far the only one too. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Oh, you're still the only one? Oh man.
Yeah, I'm the only one crazy enough to try it.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. Personal best of 12:98 in the 110 hurdles. Flying sub 13 is crazy. I know folks are like, what? Yeah, pretty fast. So how'd you get started? I looked you up a little bit. I saw that you got started at a young age, 12 years old. What got you started in track?
So I have two older sisters, 6 and 8 years older than me. And my dad made this comment, just randomly was saying, like, I wish I had played a sport so that I wouldn't have to pay for school. And I was young enough to just start getting into sports at like the middle school level. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll just do a sport so that I can pay for school. I'll have, different options. And I played basketball for a little bit. I sucked. And then I ended up just, running track. And I sucked pretty much middle school and my freshman year. And then sophomore year, it just, took off. But I can't say like I watched TV and was like, oh, I want to be at the Olympics one day. It literally started off as like a means to an end. And then it ended up just developing into the career that, I lived my life in for 10 years. So it's just crazy how life works. It's crazy.
So you said in middle school you kind of started it because it's just a comment like, yeah, why not? What were you doing before then? Because for me, I was put in track at a young age because I had too much energy, and if I didn't do something, I was gonna explode, bounce off the wall. So it was like put them in every sport possible. This was like I was in second grade. So what were you doing up until middle school that kind of kept you?
Man, I was being a corny little nerd. Like I was just boring. I was whack. But like my whole family went to Howard. And I more so come from like a family of academics or whatever. So it was always about school. It was always about, classes and stuff like that. So I'm the only one in my family who did a sport at all in the first place. So,
you're the only one who did a sport?
Yeah, like my sisters didn't do a sport. My parents didn't. Like I don't come from some lineage of, athletics.
I feel like that too. I feel like I was like that, like the black sheep. Like everyone else was,
Yeah, I mean, but they were super supportive. So despite, just not knowing anything about sports, my parents would go to every, summer track meet they can to watch 1,000 heats of, the intermediate men's hurdles. They were always supportive. So,
so
it was pretty cool. But, just started early. And I'm thankful I started early. Because, it just takes time to develop talent and decide whether or not you like it or not, so
that too. But I want to focus on that. I want to look at the academic piece a little bit because for some reason this idea that floats around that athletes aren't smart. I don't know if that idea still persists because it seems ridiculous if anybody thinks that. But you said to focus on academics. I saw you were a member of the national debate squad.
Yeah, that's probably why I argue too much still to this day. Yeah, we had a little debate team at my high school, and we would travel to a couple of different tournaments and stuff like that. And it's cool because in a sense you had to take both sides of the tournament. So still to this day, I kind of realize there's different ways to look at a situation, and you just gotta make an argument for which case you believe in. But there's always positive and negatives to everything. So yeah, I had to like balance that with track. And I remember, I think senior year, there was a statewide debate tournament. And of course, I think it was a regional level. No, it's district. It's district level for track. And they clashed. And I ended up having to get the whole thing. I ended up having to get the whole meet changed.
You got the meet.
Yeah, so some people in the
Hold
area
on, man.
were
That
happy.
sounds like some special treatment. You got the meat changed.
Well, technically you're not supposed to have two, you're not supposed to have two things clash, but that was never a problem. And but I decided that's the rule. But I ended up going to state in debate and I'm going to state in track, so it all worked out.
Okay. And so you transition into track, you start focusing on track in middle school, and you said you sucked.
Yeah.
Because a lot of folks I interview, who was it, Geneve Russell, whoever it is, Aileen, they're crushing folks.
Oh, yeah.
All the Jamaican folks, because you don't even get to a certain point, I guess, until you're dominating everybody in like the club and the youth stuff in Jamaica. So it's like, no, in second grade, I destroyed. But you're saying middle school, it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been thin, but like,
you were little.
Like, I was small.
Yeah.
I was like crazy small. So I didn't get good until I started to like pick up a little bit of weight and, start putting on some, I don't know, some adult sizing. So like middle school was trash. And then, but it was still cool. But like I didn't go to the meets with expectations to win. I wasn't out there like losing or anything, but like I wasn't.
You were decent.
Yeah, I was like middle of the pack, so, and it was just fun. It was something to do. And then, it turned out to, be more fun once you win some more.
When did you start winning? When was that those first couple races where you're like, okay, I'm good?
So sophomore year is when I started to win some stuff, but I always knew that they were kind of regional and they were local.
Okay.
So I knew that this world has, billions of people on it. So I'm thinking like, yeah, I could beat somebody in my town or whatever, but I'm not going to declare that I'm the best.
But you were one in the best track stage. You were in Texas.
Oh yeah, Texas is a hell of a track state.
Yeah. What, Cali, Texas, Florida?
Yeah, I mean like Kelly Willie, Jeremy Warner, like all of them were around the time that I came out. So 45 seconds, 20.1, that was normal, to me. So
Jersey, I forgot to say Jersey as well.
No.
The track state, but especially when we were in high school.
Jersey's high. I mean, I had that indoor scene. That was
play Jersey.
Yeah, I was indoor. It was good. Like we didn't have nothing except that Carl Lewis meet down at the University of Houston.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the only indoor meet we had. But yeah, sophomore year, I ended up going to state. I don't know what place I got in state.
But you went to state sophomore year? That's pretty good. The
state meet. I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I might have to get this.
You know what you ran that year?
I want to say it was maybe like 13.8.
What, man? You were flying, man. By sophomore year?
Maybe 13.8. I also could be completely making that up right now.
No, I bet you probably were about there.
No, yeah, I think freshman year I was doing 14 something. Which
is still pretty good.
And then 13.8, I think, was sophomore year, yeah. And then I think like 13.5 was junior year.
Okay, you were running the 4 hurdles also.
Well, there's only 300 hurdles in Texas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 300.
And so I would only run the 400 hurdles like twice a year.
Yeah.
So like at those, in my time it was the Adidas Outdoor Championships, that large one for the schools, for all the high school kids. And that was the first time that I ran it. So, I would only go out there and, run it a couple times. And so I still to this day have no idea how I pulled it off.
Only those 2.
That's why I never really ran much faster in college.
In the 4 hurdles.
Yeah, I also didn't want to run the 4 hurdles.
Yeah. The college 4 hurdle game,
Like when given the choice to do 110s of the 4, I'm gonna pick the 110s every single day.
Yeah, you still ran the 4x4 though, so you didn't get away from the 4.
Yeah.
Hey, you know the
I used to love the second leg.
second leg.
Yeah, because when you like run the bend and you're like, this race is so long, and then you cut in and you're like, hell yeah. Like, so it just felt like I like cutting in because it just made the race feel shorter.
Yeah, no, it wasn't short at all. That 4x4, especially at South Carolina, it was like every meet. Every meet,
Single meet. All we did was relays.
doesn't matter what meet, we're running the 4x4.
And I'm just thankful I wasn't fast enough to run the 4x1. I would have had to run that too.
Yeah, you didn't run on 4x1, did you?
But I was hurt every other week anyway. So
Man, that's injury. Everyone I talk to, man, it's like injury is a part of the sport.
oh,
Like,
for sure.
yeah, it's like you can't run fast without getting yourself right to the threshold. And at the end of the day, sprinting fast is not natural for your body. Like
Not at all.
humans run like this when we just without training, we're running like this. And you train yourself to get all of this stuff, and you're running at 100% intensity, and you damage your body. And you have to put yourself to the limit. And if you're not taking those risks, then it's going to be hard to run 12:98. So, that's part of the game, but it sucks.
I ran 12:98 3 times. That's the weirdest thing ever.
Man, that's fast. I remember, sub 13.
Man.
Does it seem like somebody else? It looks like you're looking at like, man, was that me?
Yeah, like honestly, like the only reason I remember I run track half the time is because I have like a couple of pictures on my IG.
Oh man.
Like it feels like a whole different like lifetime, like a whole different person, and I will say this, like in college and even when I was running professionally, I like track was my job. Track was, my sport of choice in school, but I was never defined solely by that because, it just, I'm nuts. I had to do other stuff. So now that like I'm done with track, it's just like moving into a different chapter. And it's good though, because the transition out of track I didn't take it as hard as I know some people have. And it can be a really rough transition when that's all you've done, that's all you know. It's still, it was still rough.
Yeah.
But it was cool because I had some other stuff that I wanted to explore. So I ended up landing in a good position.
It's like tunnel vision. You spend so much time dedicating every aspect of your life to this thing. And it's like super commitment to the point where you become the best on planet Earth. Like you get gold. No one's better than you. Then it's like, okay, what's the next thing?
Right. What's next?
And it's like you still have that capability to that discipline, that focus, but what do you want to focus on?
And then there's the things we got from track, the competitiveness, the discipline, the hyper focus, all of that. Like when you take it outside of the sports context and put it into, your regular job or, building a business, like it's crazy. I really think everybody should play a sport if they have a chance.
Well, it's so two things about that. Yes. And because we've been in sports our whole lives, we've learned things that I realized the average person, the pedestrian, don't learn. And you're like, wow. And when I talk, and that's the purpose of this podcast. The purpose of this podcast is so the person who maybe didn't get to a high level in sports or, maybe they don't really know what that feels like to be super motivated and committed and push through the hard stuff. And hearing these stories hopefully can just show, like they're hearing the stories from all these people who got medals. And it's like, I had to deal with this issue, I had to deal with that, and overcome this, but I was able to do it. And I'm hoping they see that can translate to your life.
Yeah,
a job you're trying to get, an interview you're on, you're starting your own company, you want to, whatever it is you're trying to do, you're selling stuff on social media, Instagram, in the marketplace, whatever your thing is, you want to get really, really good at it. You have to have these kind of things about you. That athletes you have to come standard with it. Be competitive. You have to have drive and focus and be committed and really put all of yourself into it. If you want to get to the highest levels of anything, and I don't think there's any dancing around that unless, your father is your parents are the head of some company and they can just put you in that position.
Hey,
But the
you
rest
got
of us, if you're the rest of us mortals, you kind of gotta work for it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like when I talk to older people who were athletes, they still consider themselves athletes, like that
Yeah.
their identity, like, oh, yeah, I'm an athlete, 80 years old. And it's like, well, in the work world, you're successful. Did you apply that? They're like, yep, they went to work every day like it was a track meet. Like, I'm
Mhm.
beating you, and you. I'm being better at this than you are. And
Yeah.
somewhere along the lines in our society, it's like competition started getting frowned on, I think. I keep hearing some weird, I don't experience it as much, but I keep hearing this thing like competition is bad.
Yeah, I think we've moved away from the winning and losing idea, and everybody should just enjoy the participation aspect. And we should, hold hands and just, enjoy the fitness of it all. And there's something to be said about that. Enjoy your time, have fun, move your body, enjoy that part. But for some people, being competitive is innate. It's what drives them. It's what, excites them. And so as we kind of, I don't know, but I'm torn about that because I do think the competitive part does have a hell of an impact on mental health. And, case in point, kind of what's going on with Osaka in this press conference, at the French Open right now.
Yeah.
Kind of the competitiveness in your sport is one thing, but when it spills over into everything you do, it can be tough to manage. Um, but I used to enjoy the competition part. I didn't enjoy training. I didn't enjoy eating right, eating healthy, not going to parties. Like I didn't enjoy any of that. But for those 13 seconds, like I enjoy the competition part. And I want there to be winners and losers. I want to win sometimes. I want to lose sometimes. I want to think I lost and win sometimes. That's what happened at Worlds. So, I think there's space for every type of kind of way you can look and view track.
But I think we can look at we could find an extreme case where cases where competition definitely has some negative
Yeah.
results, right? Being just overly competitive. And you're right. If there's competition, somebody wins, which means there's going to be someone who loses.
Somebody that loses, yeah.
And that doesn't feel good. But I feel like, as humans, we need something to aspire, to drive us to work for, to try and seek and accomplish. I think when things are stagnant, I don't think we're fulfilled. At least I don't feel fulfilled.
Right.
And I just think when you treat something more competitive, for me personally, when I'm competing, it doesn't mean I'm wishing negativity on those around me or I want to hurt them, but I'm trying for myself to be better at what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm competing in the work world, I want to win, not because I think I'm better, but because for myself, like I'm aiming for that because it makes me work hard. It makes me try harder. And so it's interesting that it could be, understand it can be looked at negatively, but without that drive, what are we doing?
Right. We're just floating in the world.
We're just floating around.
I think the biggest takeaway that my participation in sport has taught me that's helpful for life is that you can do everything right and the outcome still not turn out right.
And that's an excellent point. That okay, when we
do
compete,
everything right and lose.
but you know what though? What else did you learn in the sport from losing? You lose. And I think when you lose, you learn to be able to deal with it. It makes you stronger. It's a failure. And so I don't think we should protect ourselves from experiencing that. I think we need to lose. So we need to compete so that we can lose.
Absolutely. And
if I avoid competition because I don't want to lose, guess what? I'll never win either.
Right. Because you have to show up in order to win or lose. You have to at least be in the arena. You have to at least step foot and make the effort. And life's not fair. Like I've benefited from catching breaks in life, and I also, have been on the other side of the fence where I feel like, life didn't dealt me this absurdly ridiculous hand, that I'm never gonna win with. But that doesn't mean that you can't make the best of what cards were dealt. And so that's the biggest thing that I appreciate from sports that I feel like a lot of my friends that didn't participate in sports struggle with. For them, 1+1 has to equal 2. And track teaches me that, depending on what you do, 1+1 could equal 11, or it could equal 2, it could equal anything.
That's such an excellent point. I coached an athlete once, went about best at Cornell, Ivy League record, really, really good. And I remember she said to me, Coach Durant, why is it that in track, somebody who's good, like the better one, can lose to someone who's not as good? How does that make sense? I was like, because this isn't 1+1. There are a lot of variables that you cannot account for that exist. I was a walk-on who ended up with a full scholarship the next year. Like I beat a bunch of folks who were way better than me. And it wasn't because I got taller or anything else. It was just that my head was in a different place. I was like, I'm running for food. If I don't do this, I won't be here next year. That's going to make me work harder than them. It's going to make me endure more than them. So that's going to make me better. So yeah, folks have something, when you have something driving you, it's going to push you a little
And it's crazy when I talk about like not coming from a sports family, like that's like how like me and my sister are very similar, but we have such a departure from how we perceive certain situations because she doesn't have that background in sports.
Yeah, she's like, why am I not winning here? Because somebody has some willpower, someone has some determination, someone can persevere, like these things that, like, how do you quantify willpower? I can't tell you.
Yeah, you can.
You can squat 500, you can run 3.0 in a flying, you can run 2.8 in a flying 30, you can run 14.9 in a 150. This person can't, but when they get in that meet, you better, be on your A game.
Those were my favorite athletes, like the David Payne, the Lauren Williams.
Yeah.
So just like those are two of the examples that I always call on that like if they got into the final, you knew they was gonna end up on the team.
Their problem. Yeah, they're gonna
be
a problem.
It didn't matter what their fitness looked like the entire year. If they made it to nationals and was somehow in that final, they were gonna be on the team. And those are the type of people that I've always respected. And I always felt like I was a little bit like that as long as I was healthy. I would like somehow make it work. Because my story with that is the year after the Olympics. So this 2013 season, I was running bad. I was running so bad. It was my option year, so I was stressed about that because Nike will cut you in a heartbeat.
Hold on, go into that for what's your option year?
So everybody thinks, in sports, we get paid millions of dollars and it's the best life on earth. But the powers that be are the sponsors. They're the shoe companies. They are the gatekeepers of all of the money that goes in and out of sports. So in a traditional contract, for instance, it'll be like 4 years and 3 will be kind of fixed. And then the last one, it is up to the discretion of the sponsor if they want to keep providing the capital for you for that 4th year. So they do have the right to cancel that contract 3rd year of the 4th. And so when you're in that option year, you're made to feel like you've already been given this gift, of them extending that contract another year. But you actually have to run your way into another contract because it was a fixed 4-year period. And so that's luckily super blessed. I always, will respect Adidas. Adidas picked me up after Nike because we didn't have a good option situation. So won Worlds in 11, got 2nd in 12, and then got 4th. So I hit the 10th hurdle. Mm-hmm. I was in 3rd place, cleared 3rd, hit the 10th hurdle, and I ended up being 4th.
Oh, man.
And so Nike wanted to reduce me significantly.
See, that's crazy. So you wait.
Yeah.
You won in 2011. second in the 2012 Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And what year was this?
13.
Wait. In 2013, they won a significant.
The next one.
Yo, that's crazy, man. I cannot stand the shoe companies, man.
And then the other layer of that is the coaching exclusivity.
Yeah. Oh, wait, they trying to make you go to someone?
Well, John Smith was a Nike coach.
So you had to go to John. They were like, you have to go to John.
So, but no, when I left Nike and went to Adidas, I couldn't work with JS anymore.
Okay. Oh, because he was a Nike.
I literally could not work with the coach that I got my medals with.
And you know what's the crazy thing? People don't, that's a big deal. That's not like I'll just get another coach.
No, that's a huge deal. And that is okay. So that's essentially what started the kind of downward spiral in my career, in a sense, because I was bouncing from coaches because nobody coached like JS. And then by the time I found a coach that was very similar in Lance Brahman, who was like a sprint hurdle hybrid, I was, old in the game, I was in my 30s. And, I started getting injured more and just never had one. I never had a good, healthy season with Lance. And, so that was it. But to say as a hurdler that I made it 10 years in the sport is crazy.
10 years is a long time, longevity. That's tough in this sport.
Yeah.
And I'm sure folks listening are thinking like, man, 4 years, like you become the best in the world. And it's like, no, you're not set for life. Like now you have to, either you're doing this every year, every other year, or you're unattached.
Yeah.
So when you see folks at these track meets, everybody, and you see their name, someone you know of, and it says unattached, that means no money.
Yeah. And I told myself, so I kind of had a full circle moment, and I just decided there was only so much I would do towards the end of my career. So I ended up getting second at nationals my last year in college. I lost to Ronnie Ash. And that was the year that we were in a recession. And so the shoe companies claimed that there was no money out there. So Nicole Leach and I were the two more decorated athletes, and they didn't offer us hardly anything. She didn't even run. She went to law school. And so I said I would give it a year, went out to LA, slept on Kenny's couch. So I said for myself, like, I'm not going to make the absolute full circle. Like I'm gonna exit when I'm no longer being compensated. And, I can just move on to something else. So I do think struggling at some point is good in your career. I got it out the way early. I wasn't going to struggle towards the end. Yeah. So when the check stopped, so did I.
Yeah. But I mean, at that point,
I don't have any regrets about that either.
You were a world champion, man. You were a world champion.
I mean, yeah. It was a good run, literally. Literally, it was a good run. I had a good run.
When you let's go back to that world championship, 2011. What was it like? What was it that season? What was it like going into that preparation and your mindset? What was that experience?
So the thing about elite sports is staying on top is harder than the journey to get there. And the ride up is so much more fun. So 2011 was the rare year where the fastest hurdlers who had ever done the event were all healthy. So Lou had the record at one point, and then Daron broke the record at one point, and then David was 100th off and had the American record, and they were all three slated for the first time ever to be competing at this world championship. And I was just there, just minding my business, enjoying the ride, having a good time. And I just remember it just felt, there was something special in the air in Daegu. Like there was just something special. Like I was running well, Jet was running well, JS and I were clicking. Like it just felt right, if that makes any sense. And I knew walking into the tunnel in the hip area, I just felt like win or lose, something crazy was about to happen.
Yeah.
Now I didn't think it was gonna be as crazy as it was. I mean, people getting disqualified and all of that, but
Yeah.
I had the same lane every single round. Um, and I just remember thinking, if I medal, that'll be better than what I was expected to, because all eyes were on everybody else. Uh,
There's something to say about that. That you're right. Like you weren't predicted to win, so you're just like, hey, I'm here. I'm gonna compete. I'm having fun. Whereas whoever's the predicted person, it's like, I gotta win. I gotta win.
like in every article, they talk about the favorites, and then it's just natural. You always throw in one other person
Mhm.
because they just like to, you know what I mean? They like to add that in the article, like,
And that's
oh,
this guy.
it's a three-way race between these, dot, dot, dot. But don't forget so and so. Like, I was that person. Like I was just at the bottom, I was the last sentence of the paragraph.
But
And
that's
I
not a bad position to be in, though.
yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Like honestly, that was a good year. I would say the my Olympic silver is better. Um, I actually think my Olympic silver is better than my world championship gold. It had less drama. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like it didn't involve somebody, losing a medal or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But also I was blessed enough that, Aries was significantly better than everybody. Like on a good day, I could come within, striking distance from him. Like he'd go 1290 low, I'd go 1290 high, something
He
like
was balling.
yeah, but like he still would always beat me. Like he would always beat me. He'd always find a way. And so it was always kind of him in front, and then I was second, and then there was clear distance between he and I and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to enjoy the games. I didn't have to worry about, getting anything else but silver.
Yeah, it was less pressure.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the village. I walked around, I did all this stuff. I didn't stay in the house and, light incense and read my Bible 24/7. Like, I actually had fun.
Hold on. Let's talk about that because that's actually funny. Because people give people an inside look on the Olympics. Because there are people who get
Yeah.
superstitious. You're at the Olympics. I kind of okay. It happened to me. I shot myself in the foot. I didn't walk in the opening ceremony when I went to the '04 Olympics. I got in so much trouble from everyone who knew me back home because in my mind, now first of all, I had no chance of winning anything at the '04 Olympics. But I was taking it so seriously that I was like, no, I run the day after, and I'm not going to walk for 9 hours because I'm trying to make the next round. Which, yes, but I didn't have a chance, and it was like I probably should have taken that experience in, you know. But I was also.
I've never felt that emotion before of what it felt walking into the stadium.
Oh man, I went in 2016, so it was
like that. It's crazy because I mean, like you say, you have to walk from the village to the stadium, and you have in your head like, man, this is gonna destroy. This is gonna tear my body up. And then those first few steps into the stadium, you're like, man, this is worth it.
Yeah.
But then halfway in there, you like, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
It was cool. So it's like, you could stay if you wanted to in London, or you could leave. So I ended up just doing the one lap, and then I ended up heading home.
Yeah.
It was cool.
But like you said, there are folks who won't leave their room. I'm gonna meditate, and I'm at the Olympics, and and I get that, taking it seriously. I think you can take it too seriously. I think you have to take in the Olympic experience because my mistake was I took it for granted and thought I'll just be back in '08 and walk in the ceremony. And I feel like when you get there, you feel like that. Like, I'll be back next time. No. It's the Olympics. And no next time. Be lucky.
Lucky. like this, like 16 was another rough year. I think no, 16. Oh yeah, 16 Olympic trials is when I tore part of my tendon.
Ooh,
So I tore part of my tendon in semis and ran like one of the top 5 fastest times I've ever run, like a crackhead. And then ran on it. I just be doing weird stuff. And then I ran on it in the finals. Like I knew it was torn, and I ran on it anyway. And I ended up getting like 5th.
I don't want to encourage anyone to do that, but I've heard that story. Like folks who win, they take those type of risks. I think
Because in my
Wallace,
head, it was like it. I mean, it's literally the Olympic trials. Like
what are
if
you gonna do? Not run?
right,
It's
you
either
know,
gonna, yeah, you take the chance and I was talking to Wallace Spearman, and he was like, he had a broken bone in his foot and like torn something in his knee, and was running. It was running 200s, like, ugh. And people didn't really know what was going on. Like people don't
yeah,
know
that's
you.
the thing. Like I didn't know it was torn for the longest time. I actually didn't
But
know
it
it
just
was
hurts.
torn for like half a year. Because what happens is I tore the middle part, so I still had
Ooh,
the connective tissue on the outside. So I had some stability,
they feel a little loose.
but it would just hurt in the middle of my knee.
Ah.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. And then when you get old, like that's what goes, like ligaments and joints, like.
Oh, he's 35.
But in track, it's like dog years.
I
You got,
know, 35.
you
You're
got like
like
you got like multiply
50.
that. That's why like what Shelly Ann Frazier's doing right now, I'm like, you deserve all of that.
Yeah,
Like having a whole baby and you're a little on the older side and you running fast. Like the same with
woo.
Alex.
And she made it look easy too.
Yeah, like y'all look crazy.
But I had Kim Collins on recently, and we talked about longevity. Because
Yeah.
I mean, Kim ran nine
I
nine
mean,
and
he's the best person. I remember sitting down at the Brussels meet and asking him, like, how have you made it this far? And, he gave me some good advice. It'd be interesting to hear what he told you.
this is like man, he's like he talking about people doing crazy workouts. He's like, man, I don't do that. Like I know I listen to my body. I don't push it beyond the limit. I'm not at practice. He says people do 10 100s, all out, no rest. He's like, why are you going to do that? And we talked about it because I think people don't understand that when you're training track, there's multiple things going on. It's not just running fast. As a
Mhm.
coach, I feel like getting someone fast is actually pretty easy. Like if I didn't have a track meet and it was just to run a fast time, that's relatively easy to get anyone faster. But getting you to run your fastest time on
At
August
the right time.
after running multiple rounds, like that's the science. That's
That's
what you're.
what separates the good coaches from, the mediocre coaches.
Yeah, exactly. So what he's describing is someone trying to rush those results. You just pounding the work, and not really being smart. Too many guys race too much as well. They chase the money, race, race, race. When I coach Bruno, I'm like, man, we race strategically so that you can win the big ones, and then you
Yeah.
get the contract. Not running every single diamond league to get every single $1,000, 2,000. Like you're gonna burn yourself out. So Kim pretty much was like, nah, he's smart about it. He rests, he listens to his body. And I seen Kim, he do be kind of chill at meets. I'm like, is he gonna warm up? He's kind of sitting there relaxing. He just knows his body, and he's over the years learned just how much work he needs to do and how much he doesn't need to do. You know?
That's one of the best guys to talk to for that. Kim was Kim was cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kim was
I was
really
watching him when I was in high school.
Yeah, I always liked Kim.
Do you have anyone that you looked up to that you actually got to compete against? Did you race
Probably
Allen?
I did race Allen a couple times, I think. Um, but kind of when I first got on the circuit, that's kind of when Allen was, kind of finishing up his,
Allen,
career.
Terrence. What about Terrence?
Yeah, so Terrence, so I I got third at trials for Daegu,
Yeah,
and I just outleaned Terrence.
yeah. That's a crazy thing. When you come in as a freshman, you knew of Terrence Trammell. It's like Terrence Trammell.
And Terrence has always been cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Terrence has always been cool, and I just hate he never got that gold. Like, ah, that's the only thing though.
Man, he
But
was so fast, man. Even like the flat 60. You're at a 640 something in the 60.
uh,
It's crazy.
he was almost too fast.
Yeah. Just he had some real sprint speed there.
Yeah. But like Terrence and Allen, I think are the two guys.
Allen was fast too.
Because I don't think people so they're so rhythm and more technical events are harder to be consistent at. Like hurdles, there's a rhythm to it. And so you can fall out of rhythm. Like sprinting, there's just nothing in your way at an exact point, you know. So if you're a little off, you're a little off. But like if you're off in hurdling, like the whole race is just messed up. And that's why like it's hard for hurdlers to be consistently good. Like you have a good year, maybe 2 years, and you fall off. And with the exception of David, I think David and Allen, if I had medaled in 13, but they're the only two people that have medaled 3 championships in a row. Like it's really hard to do that. And the fact that Allen consistently medaled and ran sub 13 like 8 years in a row or something crazy is just.
He was winning since like 91 or something insane. Like
And that's why I was like, yeah, he didn't run the fastest, but he will always personally for me be the greatest hurdler.
yeah.
And I mean, Aries has the world record, but I mean, the dominance just wasn't there.
Well, I think that's an argument that, I mean, this stuff, I think that's debatable, right? Like, who's the best? Is it someone who has the fastest time and also won and was successful, or someone who was dominant over a decade? Right.
And I picked the decade, like, and the older I got in this, the older I got in track, the more I started to shift that perspective.
You appreciate it more because
because it's not just about time, like, because that's the thing. If the World Championships is in Helsinki and it's freezing and raining, who cares what the time is? You know, but the best person gonna get out there and win, and it's usually the one who has the best focus and stuff like that. So on a perfect day, perfect temperature, anybody can run fast, but can you run fast over and over and over and over again? That's
yeah.
what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, consistency, longevity is not just about running fast, folks. Running fast.
And man, I had that whole Let's Run scandal where they tried to act like I was on drugs because I was hanging out with Jet and Mark. I was like, that's the stupidest stuff I've ever heard. Because
I didn't even.
It's like I've run at every developmental level. Like I won states, one World Youth, one NCAA's. Like, what is the problem here?
I didn't even really know about that, nor do I. We don't even have to even go into that.
It was good. I mean, I don't mind it because it's almost like if you're not running, if somebody doesn't think you're on drugs, you're not running fast enough.
Yes, right. Like, oh man, people. But I hate when people casually toss it around because it's real stuff. And I was in the game and I've seen, you see some funny things at me.
Oh, and some make no mistake, some people be on it. They be on the sauce.
Just like, man, But we're not gonna go into that because you don't need it.
Right.
You don't need it. To win, they say you need it to win. I feel like if you do things the right way, if you follow someone's advice like him, and you're smart about it, you're not just chasing the money, but you have a plan and you're being smart about competitions, you'll still risk injury, but I still feel like you can compete at the highest levels.
Right. And that is redefining what win means. Like, will you win the race? Maybe not. You know what I mean? Like maybe maybe your genetics will not allow yourself to go 9.6 in the 100, but you can train legally, get under 10 and run at the elite level, make a lot of money, travel and have a good time. That should be winning, not taking drugs and have your balls falling off when you're 50. Like nobody wants to talk about the long-term effect of some of this stuff.
So maybe that's the conversation that we had about competition. What is winning worth? And
Yeah,
also, what is winning? Because we focus on the medal, but you mentioned journey, everything that you're going through, that whole path, that's memorable. That's experiences.
that's the only way. That's the only way to make it sustainable.
Yeah.
If I didn't enjoy the journey and the process, there's no way I would have made it that 10 years. Because I lost more races than I won.
Oh yeah, that's another
Like
thing.
that
Yeah,
out. Like,
track.
I legit made great money losing.
That's probably one good thing about track too. You lose a lot.
A lot.
You lose everyone loses.
And it's crazy. Like sometimes you'll get third and you'll be excited as hell.
PR by half a second. You're like,
And then first place is mad and pissed off. And the other layer to how professional sports are is on the way up, you get paid to win. Once you're at the top, they are paying you not to lose. They don't pay you to win, they pay you not to lose.
yeah.
You're at the top of the sport. When you win, you don't get any fanfare. You don't get the balloons, the streamers. You don't get none of that because they're like, well, this is what you're supposed to do.
You're supposed to win.
Right.
What you talking about?
But the second you lose, bruh, then they want to take 25%.
The minute you lose a race, not even the season, it's like, oh man, Jason Richardson ran 1340, 1350 today. Like he's, it's washed up.
Because when I was competing with David, and it's weird, it's like a sponsor will have two athletes, but get mad when one athlete beats the other. I'm like, but y'all are paying us to do the same thing. Because like David in 12, he had the Coca-Cola, they were putting a lot of money behind David, and they should have. Like I had a chance to train with David. I mean, he weird, but he cool. But he know that. And like it was his year, like, and I genuinely fell for him when he didn't make that team.
Yeah.
But I think the shoe sponsors invest so much in these athletes that like when another athlete like starts to beat them, it just messes up the balance of what they want to happen. And that's just a whole nother layer to professional sports. It's just weird.
It is because you get undue pressure. The athlete already has pressure because the athlete would never have gotten to that level if they didn't want to win. So they have the pressure that they already put on themselves. And then there's the pressure from everyone around them, their family, everyone who's like, you're the best. And, you kind of have that, your community, everything. And then you have the shoe company, and the shoe company and folks, your coach has a plan, and it's like, people might not understand that plan, but you've dealt with your coach, the plan and you follow the plan. And it's like, maybe that plan is not for you to run 1290, the first track in Florida relays,
Right.
And it's like, but when you don't run that, that's when you get all that exterior stuff. Like, oh, what's going on with him? You should have went to a different coach or whatever. So it's a lot to deal with, but it's life. You have to grow through that and be strong.
But I have the utmost respect for like people the more high profile people in the sport who have to deal with it. Like David in our sport, like Allison in the 2, Jet and Shellanne in the 1, people that, carry the event. Like that's hard.
Yeah.
Like that's hard. Like I got to fly under the radar a lot, and I'm thankful for
that. Yeah, I can see that as being a slightly easier path that you're not the one that they're focused on. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's all still tough, and that's life.
True.
You want to win. This is what you're gonna do. If you don't want to experience pressure, then don't try. But you're still gonna get pressure from somewhere.
You're right. Don't get in a race if you don't want to win or lose.
Yeah. Now, so, you. Now, I mentioned this. I don't remember if I mentioned it before, but you were the honors college, and I wanted to go back to that because I'm always talking athletes and have the big brain athletes, man, because I don't like hearing the stereotypes about athletes not being smart. Right. And I shouldn't act like I hear that all the time. But I've heard it once or twice. People speak about it, like athletes feeling like people come to them like maybe you're not smart because you're an athlete. And so for you, you went to the honors college at SC. You came up with academics being a priority. Your family prioritized academics. Do you feel like you've encountered that in your career as a track and field athlete? You know, even when it comes to things like dealing with contracts and everything, do you feel like people had a perception of you as an athlete that maybe you weren't smart until you got to business, got to work?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a universal mantra that, you know, athletes are supposed to be stupid, that they can't coexist in the same space. And I think what that's somewhat rooted in is the idea that there's a lot of the things that happen in sports that just don't make sense. You know, like it's hard to make sense of how it could just be somebody's day. You know, how one day somebody can just, it all clicks. It's just hard to make sense of some of that track stuff. And so for somebody that does try to balance that, you do kind of have to check out from that sometimes. Like I couldn't mentally, I couldn't think my way through races. I had
Yes.
to actually go ahead and turn that off and turn on my Lauren Williams and turn on my David Payne and say, I don't know how I'm going to get down this track. And I don't know how I'm gonna make this team, but I'm gonna make this team. But and just backpedaling to the idea that, you know, there are smart athletes out there. Also, the way the NCAA system is structured too also doesn't help. You know, it's usually encouraged that you take the bare minimum number of credit hours in the easiest majors so that you can, you know, just keep your scholarship.
Well, so that's the real debate, right? So my first major was engineering, and I'm at Cornell. So all I know is smart athletes, right, in Ivy League. So for me, it's like people think athletes aren't smart. Have you seen them? And then they graduate and get the best jobs and they're better than everyone at their jobs because they're super competitive. And I'm like, so I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me.
And I think that's a little bit like you're blessed to be in that Ivy situation.
Yeah.
But like I've been in I've been in probably like 3, 4 professional training groups. The majority of them don't have their degree.
Really? So here, what is the real issue? Is it that
Because they left early.
so so I think you can take this all the way back to like what is being smart? Because you know, if you're somebody who track was the thing, it wasn't focusing on academics, it wasn't, but the NCAA system is the best training ground
Right.
for amateur athletes going pro, especially in track. You want to go through the NCAA.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you may not necessarily, your whole thing is, I want to go to the Olympics. This is the path. It may not be, I want a degree, I want a job. So it's not that you're not smart. You just don't care about chemistry and you never will care about chemistry.
I
and
think
you're going to do the work.
I think kind of what we were talking about with winning too. I think redefining these terms are important.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, not nobody. I mean, learning in and of itself is generally not fun. It's something you want to do, like, you know, like even these valedictorians and stuff like that, like they're trying to prove something to themselves by being so committed to every single subject. But if given a choice, nobody wants to study stuff they don't care about.
Isn't
So
that's it, isn't it?
yeah, the past American formula was you go to college, you get a good job, and you live happily ever after. That no longer works now. And we have like the millennial generation is the largest, most educated, and you know, underpaid of any of the generation. We're starting to challenge that. So the thing about sports is it's like if ultimately people are going to school, applying themselves in these classes to get a good job and make a lot of money, if people are going to school to run sports, get a job in sports and make a lot of money, it's technically the same thing. So I don't think that I don't think these athletes are dumb. I just think that they're just picking a different life path, albeit it's one that is not as safe and it's not as predictable as a traditional path. But at its core, we all are just trying to, get the job that we want and have a good time. But like people do it through track, people get it through graduating summa cum laude. But it's
Yeah.
just it's two different ways to think about it. But socially, you will be rewarded for, taking the academic route.
Yeah.
Like I can speak from personal experience, like rain or shine, like I had my degree. And when track was done, I could always go get a job. What it is, I don't know, but I could get a job. And then I went on and got another degree. I just was like, that's the thing to do. So I went and got a master's, and then I'm in an MBA program because I'm like, why not? It's just something to do. But that is a concern for the athletes that I would train with is at some point the track money runs out. Especially if you haven't done the best to invest it or figure out what your next step is. And as flawed as the concept may be in its entirety, there's still parts that make sense. Like it's good to have that degree.
Yeah.
It may not be worth what it's printed on, but you still need that degree.
Yeah, I wish there was just a way because, there's value in the skills that you gain over the career as an athlete. So let's say somebody, their focus was on chemistry, right? Or engineering, and your focus was on track. And you did that for 15 years to the point you became a world championship. You have skills. You have skills, you have an expertise.
Soft skills.
What's that?
Those are soft skills.
Yeah, you have something to put that much time in. You've learned some stuff, and I just wish there was a way that we could provide opportunity for former athletes to, because if you put 15 years into any professional field, you're gonna gain a certain level of expertise where you can get paid for the rest of your life. I don't care what you're doing. Yeah. And whatever you're doing, 15 years, you're good. You've worked McDonald's for 15 years, you're probably a manager making decent money. If you're still on the fries after 15 years, I question your motivation.
But the thing is that there's always this space in those corporate worlds to keep advancement. But the thing is, like, you'll do 15 years in the sport, and then you no longer can run anymore. And the irony is we call it a career, but it's the shortest thing most people will do.
Yeah, it's only one auto, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can't get no one or Sonya. Not everyone gets those opportunities. Right.
And that's why like people like you I respect who go into coaching and go into a space where like they share that experience, to the next generation. And that's why a lot of the people I train with did end up becoming coaches,
But the sad part is it's hard to become a coach from being you could be a medalist, and if you want to get into college coaching today, you're volunteering, you're working for free.
Yeah.
It's like you still, with any career, you still got to you have to put in the work.
Because I'm not level 3 USATF certified.
Or you're not certified, or you just haven't done college recruiting, so somebody would want to see you do that. It's like the specific skills for the job, but I just wish there was a way that it feels like sometimes track and field athletes just get you win 10 medals and it's like, all right, see ya, And is that happening in other sports? I feel like, other sports, if you were a world championship caliber, 10-time world championship caliber basketball player, football player, then you probably don't have to worry. You probably have made enough money to where you can set yourself up in any which way. And that's not the case, unfortunately, with the great sport of track and field. We need some changes, folks.
We do institutional changes from the bottom to top.
Yeah, we're gonna get some changes. It's too much fun.
And I had to acknowledge I don't have the answers and I don't have the skill set to make the changes. Like once I retired, bro.
Yeah.
It wasn't giving back to the sport. It wasn't being on committees, like because I struggle to play the game as a whole. So when
the politics stuff,
when it was over, it was like Like, I don't want to see Llewellyn ever again.
Man,
Like,
look, you're still young, man. Give it a couple of years. You're gonna be coaching. I'm gonna see you at the World Championships with some hurdlers.
I told myself I would never coach, and I know, you can't tell God stuff like that. I'll probably end up coaching at some point.
Track people get drawn to coaching because you've been doing track. Like for me, I can't even front. I was into computers, so that's why I did computer engineering and IT. But then like it was some point where I first started working, I was sitting like at a desk inside. I was like, this sucks. Like I like to track, being outside. You get to travel the world. And that's one thing about track. You're going everywhere.
Yeah,
you know. So it's just like I was like, I like that better. Let's do that instead. How do you know what you want to do when you're 17?
But like all the homies is coaches too. That's what's so fun. And so that's the thing. So I can never get away from track because like my entire timeline is just nothing but track.
Yeah.
Like I know more about these college athletes than the athletes I actually competed with in college now.
You think you got away from track. You follow all track people, nothing but track stuff. So what are you doing now? Because you're done training. You don't even run it. You don't run anything anymore, do you?
Nah.
That's how I was. I was like, I'm not running a step.
At all. Like I go to the gym a little bit, just because like it's just good to just, keep moving. I mean, like, because I can tell like when I just don't do nothing, I just feel way too regular. Like,
Yeah, is it like, is there some way you're quenching that competitive energy, that competitive thirst, quenching that thirst?
I don't know how much of it's competitive, but like, when you're fit and you just like you can sprint up the stairs. You know what I mean? Like just small things you do when you're fit. And when you're out of shape, and you can't jog to the mailbox or like you can't run and grab your phone. It's weird. It's just
Jason, you're 35 now. You're not. Come on, man.
No, I'm just saying, but there's always small indications that like you're fit and you're not fit. Like I still do all of that. Like I know I'm not out of shape. Like I probably could still. I believe in my head right now. I could still probably do like a 13.9.
13.9, man, get out of here.
Bro, like I'm telling you, like
13.9.
I could, as long as I'm healthy, I could always give you a 13.9.
13.9. Yeah, that's about it. That's a second off. So yeah. I mean, you're not old. Okay. I don't doubt you could probably run that fast. You wouldn't do it more than once. Not in a day. No way.
No.
No way.
And that's the thing. I don't feel old.
Try 2 hurdle races in a day. One hurdle. Okay.
Oh yeah. No, I get that part. Like, because when you're an older athlete, it's not that you can't do it, you just can't do it as often.
Here's what happens. You hit 30, and this is from what I've seen in my own experience. You can still do most things. So you can still jump high. You can still move fast for 20, 30 meters. You're still explosive, but everything hurts. So like I could do something really well one time. And the second time, I'm going to have some repercussions. My knee is going to hurt. Ankle, it just hurts. And you're like, man, I used to be able to do this all day. So I just feel like you just can't do it as much. Like your body's like, chill out.
Or you got to be like Willie Gold, who just never stopped.
You don't stop. Yeah.
Really just never stop training.
You don't stop.
He's also a pescatarian and don't drink. So that's
So without training, what do you do with your time now? How you spend your time away from track?
So now I'm in the real world.
The real world.
I think the new venture now is I'm kind of dealing with a little bit of like real estate, just staying in that.
Real estate? Okay.
It's in that category. So for the day job, I do mortgage brokerage. And I'm currently renovating the house that I'm renting now. And then I think at some point I'll end up getting my real estate license.
Okay.
So just because my dad and I just had this conversation, and it was kind of funny because my dad will always kind of reduce things to a simple phrase. He was like, honestly, God keeps making a lot of people, but he's not making any more land.
Oh,
And so I was like, you know what, you kind of got a point there. So kind of getting into real estate and some of the fixed property, I think would be pretty cool. And
is
just
it
start
hard?
flipping houses and stuff.
What's that?
I'll probably just start flipping houses.
Yeah, the ultimate hustle. Is it hard finding something that you want to commit that same energy to, like training?
Yeah, like I like what I'm doing now. I don't love it. I don't love it as much as I enjoy track.
You wouldn't go throw up outside after you wouldn't
Hell,
go throw up outside for it.
nah. And also, like, I have to accept that I may not find something I love as much as track, and that's okay too.
That's a real statement.
Because most people hate their job, like legit. My
Oh man,
regular
that's
friends,
well. Look, I don't know if
and
anyone
that's why they get paid so much. Like, they pay you because they know you hate it.
does anyone love their job though.
There are some people.
Like I like my job. I don't know if I could ever love
There,
it.
like, there are some people that legitimately
Like
love their job.
I love going to the
One of
beach.
my friends is like a middle school teacher, and he loves to teach. He loves connecting with them kids, and he got to because teachers are poor.
I think for me, I would overthink it. I have to break it up into pieces, like because there's parts of my job, I have to fundraise, right? So I'm like,
Yeah,
it's fun, I guess. But coaching and
yeah.
seeing someone run fast, it's like I get the same energy that I had as competing. So I love that part. When I go to a meet and I'm watching the race and they run fast, I'm like, that's
Yeah, so if you just got to do that, you probably would love your job.
if it was just that, yeah. So do
Yeah,
I
but
love
your
it?
job now comes with extra responsibility. So
I have to water it down to light.
yeah, now you just like your job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like because this the bad stuff is like
But
meetings.
they like some people, like for instance, Vince Anderson. Like we all know Vince Anderson could have been a head coach a long time
I
ago.
know, seriously.
Vince
Like,
refused
I'm
to
good.
be a head coach.
I'm good. Yeah, he's like, I'm good.
He's like, I like, he was like, I like coaching. I like going out there and coaching. He's like, I don't want to do any of the administrative stuff like that.
Yeah,
You gotta respect that.
yeah. All right. What advice do you have for all the folks listening? Because at the end of the day, this boils down to achieving goals. An
Mhm.
Olympic silver medalist, world championship gold medalist, world champion. I mean, that's best on planet Earth. What advice? And so you accomplished something amazing. What advice do you have for folks who are going after their own goals, their own dreams, whether they just want to become the top chef or they want to, I don't know, whatever people have all kind of things they want to do. I want to become a designer, fashion designer, and I want to be the best.
What is um what is the best advice? I would say clearly defining what that goal is important. Like I want to be the best. Okay, cool. What exactly is the best? I think there's an objectivity in sports that helps. Like the best for us is crossing the finish line in front of somebody. But if you want to be the best digital marketer, what does that look like? What does the best designer look like? So having a clear definition of success is important because without it, you'll keep moving the goalpost.
Good point.
So you need to have it, I would say, to have a clear definition going into it. And again, it can absolutely change, but have a sense of direction going in. And then also don't be naive to think that the pursuit of goals do not take energy. And energy is finite. So honestly, really had that conversation too. What am I willing to sacrifice for this goal? Like you can't be the best designer and be a socialite and be in the streets. Like you can't do all of that. Like it doesn't work like that. But we know plenty of people who want to be the best at stuff but don't make enough sacrifice. Like it takes sacrifice. And sometimes when you realize how much sacrifice something takes, you recalibrate your goals a little bit. Like maybe I don't need to be the best. I just need to, make a solid, decent living, enjoy myself, and feel enriched outside of that job. Like it's just making sure that the goal, I guess, in a sense, when you decide what the goal is, give some thought about what it takes to get to that goal and make sure that you're happy in the pursuit of that goal. Because if you're miserable, you're gonna be the miserable best designer. If you're gonna be miserable in your route to be an IT, you're gonna be the best IT, and you're gonna be miserable as hell. So just give as much thought as you can when you pursue your goal.
Yeah, some wisdom, man. No, that's
Yeah, I try.
clearly defining the goal so you know what sacrifice you have to make. Because, like you said, it's a different winning an Olympic goal is different from winning your state championship.
Like if I would say this, if I knew I could win a gold medal in London, but I stayed in the apartment, I didn't go out, I didn't socialize, I would not have chosen that over getting silver and having so much fun.
I like that. I like that. It's an honest answer. You don't typically hear that perspective from someone who's really good that, you know what, I'm okay with not necessarily being as good as I was when it came to just flat out track because of the benefits of having some balance in my life and valuing the experience that I had on the journey. I like that.
It's all about balance.
I like that. You would happen to be a Libra.
No, my mom is.
Okay, I'm a Libra, so we start talking balance. I'm like in my wheelhouse, in my wheelhouse.
I'm an Aries.
Aries. Oh man, yeah, I don't know about y'all.
Yeah,
But
I am one, and I don't even know about that. I don't know nothing about it.
This is all made up anyway.
Right.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming on and chatting. You know, telling us your story. Definitely left some gems for folks. There's some folks who probably want to follow in your footsteps and win themselves a medal somewhere.
They can borrow mine.
Get out of here, man. I appreciate it, man. It's been a while, man. It's good catching up with you.
No problem. Always here.
And man, wish you the best. And thanks for coming on. Have a good one.
I appreciate it.